tonight. It's your girl Lil O from the Lil O Experience. And tonight I am interviewing the cast members from the show that I'm involved in. There is Hope, which is happening March 30th at 344 2nd Street in Troy. And I'm very happy to be excited. I'm very excited, I should say. I'm very excited to be a part of this project with these lovely people right here. It's going to be a great show, and it's going to be a great time. Definitely come out and see it. It's going to be at 344 2nd Street in Troy at 1 o'clock on March 30th, and these are the stars of the show. This is Miss Silvana.
Hi.
And this is the director, the actor, the writer, everything in the show, Mr. Steve Grogan. How are you?
I'm happy to be excited too.
You'll have to excuse us. It's been one hell of a ride. I will say that much. It has been one hell of a ride trying to get this production off the ground. We're in crunch time, I would say. Yeah, crunch time. But you know, it's been a good experience. It's been a rocky experience, but it's been good. So I guess I'm going to take it over to the director and the star, Steve. Why don't you tell us, how long have you been, writing plays? How long have you been a playwright? Because I know you've read a lot of plays. So I knew that you write poems as well. You write plays and poems. How long have you been writing for?
I can remember being 8 years old and writing stuff. So I'm 48 now. So about 40 years. Yeah, and plays not so much. I tried some in high school, and I don't know. Couldn't really get into it at the time. So, but then with this, what happened with this play was conceived as a screenplay first, and then I went to see my friend Russell Roberts.
Yes,
well.
I know Russell.
Went to see him in Sunshine Boys at Schenectady Civic.
Okay.
And before it started, I was looking around, and I'm like, man, I haven't done a play or a musical since high school, but I remember the fun, the camaraderie, it's so hard at first, like, oh my God, I got to remember this line or do this dance step or whatever. But then when you get it, it's like, wow, that was all worth it. So I thought to myself, I'd like to get back to this.
Wow, okay.
And I wonder if I have any ideas. I always have a surplus of ideas I want to write, but time doesn't let me. But I said, I wonder if any of the ideas laying around could work as a play instead. And then I shot right to this idea because, well, the great thing about plays is, if this was a movie, right, and you went home and watched it, you come to me tomorrow, hey Steve, I really cracked up when you said to that guy, blah blah blah.
Right.
That's cool. But it's even better saying that. It's like saying something to her on stage, and I hear you laugh or go oh, or you know what I mean. So this play, I knew the storyline was full of emotion where you get those reactions. So I'm like, this is the one to convert to a play.
Oh wow.
That's a long answer, but
it's okay.
It's what it is. That's why, when people see me on stage as Kevin, they'll be like, that's not really, you should have just called that character Steve, because he's basically, it is based on something I went through, but anyhow.
But you said, you said that it was based on a life experience that you went through with a previous relationship.
Yeah, it's, went out, thought things were great, and then all of a sudden, by the way, we're through, and I'm like, my ego couldn't handle it, so I just got hurt, I'm gonna hurt you back, and fired back with some nasty, less than graceful comments, and
that's normal.
One of those things that you think, when I do this, boom, I'm gonna feel great, and I was like, no, I felt worse.
Right.
But it was too late because it was out there, and then years later, my friend Eric Gibson, who he passed away last May. He was only 41.
Oh wow!
But he ran this group on Facebook, socializing group, where they didn't just talk on Facebook. They got together for events out.
Okay.
And I knew he had told me so and so, Miss X. I'm not going to name names.
Right.
she joined the group. I said, oh, okay. But then the more I thought about it, I'm like, you know what? I need to be an adult, and if she's at one, just go over it. Oh, hi, how's it going? Yeah, I'm real sorry I was a jerk back then.
Right.
And I did. That happened, and then the end of that night, as I was heading home, I'm like, holy cow, man, that would make that whole arc from when we started, and the breakup, and then the thing I said, and then tonight, that would make for one hell of an uplifting story, I think. So, and it turns out I was right. But
wow.
That's what it was really based on. There's a lot of autobiographical stuff in it, but that's the spine of it, is the relationship.
Okay, nice. All right. So how you write poetry too? What kind of what poetry have you written? Because I know that you used to write poetry, and I think you did you write a poetry book, I believe?
Yeah. They had one, this place called Anxiety Press put out one called Various. I just called it Various Longer Pieces, because like most poems are like a page or two, but these were ones that might have stretched down to like 5 pages or more. As far as what kind, I don't. I wish I knew how to describe it. It's really hard to. I write, well, like this is true when I write song lyrics too. It's like I prefer the kind of lyrics or poems where it's like they might hint at an emotion without directly saying like I'm sad about my breakup. It might be like I can't think of I don't know, like something about like I'm sad I shattered that mirror that's been an heirloom in my family for decades, or like something.
Right,
you know what I mean?
right.
It won't be about the exact thing, but it kind of, in the way I try to sing it or phrase it, it evokes some kind of feeling without saying like exactly, literally what it was. And I liked a lot of surrealism, like surrealist poetry, surrealist movies, like this. I don't know if this will. This will click with you, but like there's movies like this one called Eraserhead by David Lynch.
I think I've heard of that.
This other one called El Topo, which was, they call it an acid western. It's just like weird offbeat stuff like that. I've always been drawn to that kind of. So that's all like influenced me. And music too is a lot of like I used to listen to music a lot when I wrote.
Right.
And that would, in fact, while I was writing this play, I started listening to this guy, Jackson Frank, who was out in the 60s. He released only one album in his lifetime. And he just got, I don't know if I necessarily believe in bad luck, but this guy was in the wrong place at the wrong time a lot of times. I mean,
gotcha.
He was sitting on a park bench one time, and these kids with a BB gun went by, and they're like, "Hey, look at the fat, ugly, homeless guy. I'm gonna shoot at him." And they did, and they blinded him in his left eye.
Ooh.
And he's just sitting there minding his own business. And this guy that's the tip of the iceberg of of the bad luck this guy had. And but I was getting into his music while I was writing this, actually. And,
okay.
And I tell people, I've sent her the link to the full album like 8 million times. Like, listen, you gotta listen to this.
What's his name? What was his name again?
Jackson Frank.
Jackson Frank.
The most popular song he made, one that was covered by a lot of people. Simon and Garfunkel, Counting Crows, John Mayer. It was this song called "Blues Run the Game."
Oh, okay.
And that's his most well-known one. But just he's not referenced in the play. Like the play references a lot of pop culture, like movies, books, and bands.
Yes.
But he's not mentioned in it. But his music, I was listening to it nonstop in the background while I was writing, because that's what I'm like. It's like when I gain interest in something, I'm not. Oh, that's cool. No, I gotta know everything about it.
Right.
And so I was just listening to him like crazy when I was writing this, and I think it really reflects in the mood of the play, because it's very beautiful. He had very beautiful music and melodies, and the way he sang was just like, and played guitar was like, wow. But the lyrics are very sad. So it's like, there is an underlying current of sadness in the play, even though there is. I mean, at the end, there's an uplifting message. Well, I hope. You know? Well, then there is hope.
Right.
You know? But yeah. So that's like I said, that's the closest I can come to actually describing what I write, poetry-wise. It's just
Right.
So there you have it.
Okay, no. So like, because I know you do music too. You say you do music. You're a musician. So like, was he the reason why you started playing guitar and doing music?
No, that's you can blame that on the Smashing Pumpkins.
Gotcha.
Because I had started learning guitar when I was 16, and like one day I would be listening. I'm like, I'm playing, practicing, and I'm thinking like, when I'm good enough to write songs, what do I want to write? And well, you take a cue from your influences. At first, you kind of write songs that kind of rip them off, like I did with writing. I ripped off writers I liked to the point where it's like, oh no, I better throw this out. This is plagiarism. You know, but you start by imitating what you've listened to, and well, at least I did. And one day I'd be listening to an older guy from the 70s named Cat Stevens, which is more folky type stuff. And then the next day I'd be listening to 9 Inch Nails, and I'm like,
I remember 9 Inch Nails.
and I'm like, I'm playing the instrument, and I'm like, what the hell do I want to do with this? Like, I listened to that one day, and then this the other, and I got overwhelmed and frustrated by it, so I quit. But then, summer of '93, back when MTV used to have a show on Sunday nights called 120 Minutes.
Okay.
Which was the alternative, whatever the hell that term meant. That's it. I almost go into that in the play. Then I'm like, that's a rabbit hole. We'll go down some other time.
Gotcha.
It was something. But anyway, they're like, oh yeah, and here's a debut video of Smashing Pumpkins. It's the lead single off their second album, Siamese Dream, and it's called Cherub Rock. And I'd heard of them I knew that was their second album. I'd heard some of the stuff from the first, never got around to buying it.
Right.
I mean, it was pretty good, but I didn't. I thought at the time, it's pretty good, but I just never bought it. And then Cherub Rock came on, and that main riff that he plays, I was like, I gotta learn guitar again, at least to learn that riff. And then, as I said, took the deep dive into finding out whatever I could about them, and I never looked back. So
nice. Okay.
Yeah.
So you write plays, you write poems. Like, well, would you say like this is like your first play that you've written though, right? Or
No,
you've written
I
few.
I wrote a few.
Okay.
I just never thought they were really all that great, but I knew how to write them because I knew from reading other plays. I knew stage right means the actor's right, and downstage means close to the audience. So I knew kind of how to write them and what you can get away with on stage that you can't in like a movie or something. So I tailored it to that, and I did. I will admit though, I committed a not really a mortal sin, but maybe a writer faux pas, which is I wrote kind of like with, I wouldn't say budget in mind, but like resources, like, for example, takes place, the main action, well, I should say the present day action takes place in a club called the Tower, which is 9 stories tall. Now some people will hear that and be like, oh man, you think you're going to get 9 sets? No, I don't. The set should be the same every time. Yeah. But there'd be a different lighting in the backsplash. They have a different light, different color light. So you knew, okay, that was one floor, this is another, and it changes with every floor, because I'm like, I can't get 9 sets, and just for that one, and imagine the breakdown and the striking and the setting up, like, no. So I did stuff like that, like wrote with resources in mind, which you're not supposed to. You're supposed to just let your imagination
just run wild,
If you're self-censoring before you've even touched the keyboard to type, it's not going to come out. It's not going to come out really the best it could, in my opinion. But it came out all right anyway.
Nice.
I mean, as you, well, I'll ask, now it's my, I mean, what do you two, how do you two think it came out?
Like I said, I think the play is very good. That's what drew me to the play. Like, the storyline. Like when I do shows, I'm always attracted to the storyline. Like, what's the storyline about? The storyline is good and it draws me in, and I'm like, okay, like I think I want to be involved in this. So I'm always attracted to the storyline and what's it about? What is it? Does it have any meaning? Does it send a message? So that for me, yeah, it's a storyline. So now auditioning process and casting, I know it's been it has been like definitely taken a little bit of a toll, but like how is that for people that do not do plays, don't know what the audition process is like, or is interested in getting involved in a play or auditioning? What was that whole casting like? Talk about that whole like casting process and having to audition people and everything like that.
Well, because I work, I have a full-time state job. They've authorized, hey, you can do 10 hours overtime a week. So yeah, that's what I do.
Right.
I'm a father. I'm a husband. Right, musician.
Everything.
All this stuff drains a lot of time. I was like, well, I can't do like auditions like every damn night. What am I going to do? And the answer was right there in the play. Because there are several scenes that take place at a party.
Yes.
And there's tons of people in the scene. And I was like, the group audition. And so I'm like, okay, you read that one, you read that.
Remember.
And then, like, let's say we run out of material, but like 3 or 4 people haven't read, like I haven't handed out parts yet.
Right.
We go back to the first scene, and they're the first people. I say, okay, now you're, you know what I mean? And the reason I did that was not only to audition, not only to condense, maximize my time, but it's because it's funny, the way the party scenes are written, you get a sense that these people have relationship, like they existed before they came on the stage, and they'll exist.
Right.
They're not there to just fill a gap in the serve the story, or what do they call that? They're not there to
just fill a hole.
Yeah. They're not there to just help move the plot along. Or whatever, but then they're like a one-dimensional. Even the smallest characters feel three-dimensional because they'll say things that make you realize, oh, they've got a history together. There's depth there. Like, and this isn't giving away, this isn't really a spoiler or anything. There's 2 characters in one of the party scenes where there's Wendy and Walter. And Wendy is mad at Walter, and you don't know why.
Right.
And at one point, she turns to him and says, she's like, I saw the word, I don't know if I'm free to say this word, slut.
Yeah, yes.
I saw the word slut. I was leaving my parents' house, and this guy, he had spray painted the word slut on my car. And then she turns to Walter and goes, I had our son with us, you jerk. So right there in that one line, you know everything.
You know what's going on, yeah.
And like a scene where some characters are arguing about movie remakes.
Yes.
And one guy is like, you could tell he doesn't really believe it. He just likes it because the other guy's getting wound up. And
yeah.
Like, what's wrong, man? What's wrong with remaking Dawn of the Dead? And he's like, what do you mean, what's wrong? And, these are arguments. Those, in particular, are arguments I've really had.
Wow.
And so that fed into the biggest, most consistent comment that people have made is how real and not forced the dialogue is.
Yeah.
And that's because I've lived these things, and or if I haven't lived them myself, I've been like on the sideline while someone else went through it. You know? So that was the most important thing to me was auditioning a lot of people at once, and then also the great thing about the party scenes too is even though there's a lot of people that are like button heads and stuff, it somehow develops a sense of camaraderie by the end of the audition, by the very end of the audition. Like I said this about, I did this before as just a virtual production, which is on YouTube, but I shouldn't have said that because don't go watch it or else you wouldn't come to the play.
Yeah.
But then again, that's a slot. I mean, that's a 3-hour. It came out to 3 hours as the virtual production because that way, with the way that's done, there has to be a narrator that reads every stage direction. So instead of me taking 2 seconds to go over this way, you have to wait till the narrator reads. He goes over to the door and blah blah blah. You know, and it just makes it drag on and on. So, but my point is that even for those auditions, by the end of the audition, I'm like, wow, man, I feel like I just made like 10 new friends. You know, like because that sense of these people already knowing each other kind of carried over to the real actors and actresses, and it was so much fun to just, especially the fact that, like I said, a lot of them do butt heads. Like,
yeah.
Something about reading people arguing and being able to, because they're saying things to each other that in real life you're like, oh, I wish I could say that, but I know it would cause more trouble, more harm than good. But you can get away with it because it's a fictional argument. You know what I mean? So, like, people have a lot of fun digging into, especially Wendy and Walter, like who I already mentioned. They love. Oh, they love.
I liked Wendy.
And they love they love getting into the nerdy argument and stuff. Because you can get you're free to even overact with those parts. Like
you are.
You could read them so many ways, and so that's what it was really like I said. And then so I would audition mainly with the present day scenes at the party.
Right.
And then I would ask the auditioners, I'd say, hey, you guys read the plot, so there's this other side of the play, the flashbacks.
Mm-hmm.
So would anybody, if I were to pick one of the actresses here, would anybody be willing to just hang out and observe one of the flashbacks?
Right.
And because the flashbacks they have humor in them too.
Yes.
Yeah. But they have more like the moments that are likely to hit you here. Because Lucy's a single mom with a kid. Well, I don't want to take too much away what you might ask. But Lucy's a single mom and doing no help from anyone, no, the dad, nothing. And then on top of that, one of the kids has a quote-unquote behavioral disorder, so she's really struggling. So that's clearly a plot line, or a plot that's rich with moments for, like I said, those touching moments. You know what I mean? And so I would ask people, hey, does anyone want to read that? Would you hang out and listen to this other scene get read so you can hear the other side of it?
Right.
Because there's the humorous side, and then there's the, somewhat humor, but more so about the touching, sweet side to it. And I would use, I found myself having the ability to be like, okay, nobody read for, in the play, Kevin's best friend's a guy named Erwin.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, well, nobody read specifically for Erwin tonight, but I could tell, that guy's got too much talent to be the bit. He deserves to be more of the bigger character. And so sometimes I might do a callback and have them, read just, first scene is just Kevin and Erwin.
Right.
So I'd have them come back and we would do scene 1 together, and I'd be like, yes or no, whatever. And as far as it's strange, I didn't really do that with Lucy though. Well, because this time around I had auditioned someone who had actually gotten the part of Lucy for when I did a cast party back in October 2024, and people talked to me afterwards and said, oh man, when that actress, when she said that line in that scene, I'm not going to say what it is, but Lucy says this line that makes Kevin go,
yeah.
And people said to me, when she said that, when the actress said that, it felt like, by that point in the scene, it felt like you two really were in a relationship long enough where she would have said something like that. How long did you know her before the cast party? And I'm like, a month? And they're like, holy crap, man. I'm like, so I thought at the time, I don't want to, maybe there is someone out there better at Lucy, but I don't want to screw up that chemistry.
Yeah, I get you.
But unfortunately, due to the way things fell, like, there's no, in that scene, Kevin's at work and she's at home.
Right.
And they're talking for a phone call, so there's no contact. And then every rehearsal for quite a while was remote.
Right.
Which of course means no contact. And
Right.
then when the rehearsal started being in person, then I realized, there was a strong reluctance to do. And I was okay with, like, there's a big kiss between Kevin and Lucy that I kind of knew. I'm like, I'm okay with skipping that if you want to. And she said,
Right.
yeah. And I said, but there are other displays of affection, just holding hands,
Right.
sitting on the couch
Right.
during a movie, calling.
Right.
Are you gonna be on board with those? Because if you're not, I might as well be doing another virtual production. If you're
Right.
not, if I'm standing right here
Right.
and she's not willing to do this,
Right.
then what the hell are we doing?
Right.
Might as well be on the YouTube again.
Right.
You know?
No, I hear you.
And-
I get it.
And I was given the impression that this was going to be okay, and it turned out it wasn't. And that's when I had to make it really tough, because by then we were down to like what, a month and a half
Yeah.
until the show.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And I had to take. I got to take a giant leap off this cliff and say I don't think this is working, because I'm very. I had a dual kind of sensitivity to fulfill there. I had to
Yeah.
be sensitive to why that wasn't okay, but I also had to be like, if she can't do that, then they're not going to wonder why Lucy broke up with Kevin. They're going
Yes.
to wonder why the hell she went out with him in the first place.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. That's true.
and if you don't believe us as a couple or believe she ever cared about Kevin, it's dead in the water. There's no point. And
Right.
So I had to take, and it could have been something that resulted in just canceling the show,
Right.
but it worked out more than I could have hoped. Like there was one night when the previous actress had to leave rehearsal early, but I wanted to run through the final scene so that you and the other cast could sit there like
Of
audience.
course.
And finally, because I had told you guys, if you didn't read the play yet, you know what? On second thought, don't. And we went through that process of what we would do. I'll explain right to the audience here. What we would do. Everybody was reading like their scenes, and I said, "Did you read the whole play yet?" No. After a while, I was like, at first I was like, "Why don't you care about this? Read the other scene."
Right.
But
Right. I
after-
remember.
But after a while, I was like, you know what? Don't read the scenes. We're going to do something unique. At the end of every rehearsal where we're doing the group scenes, Lucy and I we're going to cycle through the flashbacks, one per rehearsal. The flashbacks start at scene 5, 7, 9, blah blah blah. And the night we got to scene 21, the previous actress had gone home early. And I was like, man, I still want to do scene 21 for you guys. I don't want
Right.
it's been long enough. I don't want to postpone it. I said, Silvana, will you read for Lucy? And I could tell probably 5 lines in. I'm like, holy, I made a big mistake.
Right.
How did I not-
Right.
And she was in as one of the people who had like bit parts, like multiple role, like one of the 4 to 6 role people.
Right.
And then something happened where she moved to Belinda, which you have now.
Right.
And I was just asking Silvana about this last week. I said, how is it you were the 4 parts and you were Belinda, and it never dawned on me, holy cow, this would be the best Lucy. I can't answer. She couldn't answer.
Right. Right.
But we took the lead. But anyway, like I said, she just filled in for scene 21. It was her first time through it. Really, she'd watched me go through it with someone else, but it's not the same as trying to be that character yourself.
Right.
And yet, like 5 lines in, I was like, this is, God damn, this is going really good. and so I said, hell with it. Would you take over? And she did. And I mean, you've seen just the still photos, and I don't know if you had any chance to watch. Well, you saw us on Monday night.
Yes, I did.
Although we didn't do any of the blocking and stuff, but if you could have seen the interaction of physical, walking, holding hands, or cuddling on the couch, or whatever, it was like, even just that one picture, the first picture I showed, where she was like, I'm like this, and she's really right up against, and I was like, that's what Kevin and Lucy should look like.
Right.
Not like doing this, and the other person's like,
yeah, right. No, I hear you.
And so she's been. I don't mean to talk about you like you're not here, but she has been the biggest what do you call it?
Lifesaver.
Perk bone discovery for this show to make it work, and I can't say how glad I am to have met her, and we're friends too. That is great as well. So,
Speaking of, roles and everything like that. Speaking of Silvana, I should say, we're gonna switch over to you. So,
Sure.
how long have you been acting for?
So, just about a year.
Okay.
I have a friend, Jill Cameron, that does these wonderful independent films, and she's based out of Schenectady, and she asked me, can you please be an extra in this movie for me?
Okay.
And I said, yeah, I can do that. Just dress up and be in the background talking to other people. So it was pretty interesting to see the process of. I got to watch some of the video editing process too.
That's cool.
Which was very entertaining and yeah, very cool to sit on both sides of that. But from there, she recommended me to another director who I'm currently filming a movie. And,
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm not sure when it's coming out yet. We're still in production.
All right.
But this would be the first play I've been in, except for when I was in like elementary school through high school. I did like school plays, church plays, community theater plays.
Okay.
But then as soon as I got out of high school, I was not in anything until recently, just in last year.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So like doing this play and doing films, what do you like better? Do you like films or do you like plays? Doing plays.
I like them both for different reasons. I know that's like a politically correct kind of answer, but I really do. There's joy that I get from a play that I do not get from filming.
Right.
And there's joy that I get from filming that can't be replicated in a play. So it really, I like them both. So.
Okay. Now, what drew you to want to be in this play and want to work with Steve? What drew you to that?
Well, I was recommended to Steve to audition for the play, and he sent me a sample of the script, and I pretty much fell in love with the script right away. It's an extremely well-written play.
Okay.
I really do think he was a little humble, but I think he's a very gifted writer. And
I agree.
Yeah. And he's talking about, like, don't censor the script before you began, but, like, he was talking about budget-wise, but honestly, the scenes themselves are so uncensored as far as like raw human emotion.
Yeah.
It's really deep and really powerful. Like he was talking about Wendy and Walter, that represent the feeling of wrath.
Yes.
In Dante's Inferno.
Yeah.
And you really get to dive in and explore and see what wrath does to the people who are involved,
yeah.
And how it really is a form of like self-punishment.
Yeah, that is something I don't normally. A long time ago, I gave up on trying to explain that part of it, because most people, I got sick of people being like, "Oh, I never even got into that," so that part would go over my head. I'm like, all right, then I'll just because it's a thing where I wrote it. That's another great thing about it is you can go as shallow, you can go as surface level or as deep as you want, because it works if you don't know that stuff, you know, the Inferno stuff. But yes, so what Silvana was referencing there is that the way I gave the play structure is there's a reason why the club, the tower, is 9 floors. It's because all the people he meets on each floor, a lot of people have heard things like, "Oh my God, this job sucks. I feel like I'm in the 6th circle of hell."
Mm-hmm.
That comes from Dante's Inferno, where Dante goes down through the 9 circles of hell, and eventually sees Satan at the bottom, and then he starts to go up purgatory. But that's another poem. But anyway, everybody in the present day represents a character from Dante's Inferno.
Okay.
And I used like initials to like for example, Wendy and Walter, WW, they represent wrath, which starts with a W. Like that's that's my little that's the kind of naming scheme. Like there's a guy named Nate. He symbolizes violent against neighbors.
Yes.
You know.
Okay.
But there's 4 different categories of violence, so I didn't want to be like Victor, Vinny, you know, it's like
right.
So it's like violent against neighbor, violent against themselves is a woman named Teresa. So you see what like it starts with the same letters too. But anyway, that's why she was saying they represent
Yeah.
wrath.
For anybody that is familiar with Dante's Inferno, it's going to be a special treat for you
Yeah.
because it's a very fun, entertaining look at a modern day version of Dante's Inferno.
Okay.
And but like he said, if you're not familiar with it, it's still so fun and entertaining. I definitely recommend showing up to see it because you will not be disappointed.
Okay. All right. So who's your favorite character? Because you've had multiple characters. I've had multiple characters in this
Sure.
show.
Right.
So, like, both of us, we've had multiple characters in this show.
Sure.
Who was, like, your favorite character?
Sure. So I really like Wendy. I think that's probably most people just love her. Yeah.
That was my favorite
Yeah,
character, too.
exactly.
I'm not going to lie. I liked
Yeah.
Wendy a lot.
I like my own character because she is, she's sarcastic. She's smart. She's flirtatious. She's very, like, she has just this unconditional, I don't know if love is the right word, but she has this acceptance, not just acceptance, but embrace of Kevin and his flaws.
Yes.
And it's just so touching and so beautiful. But she doesn't have her own voice. As far as, like, she has difficulty vocalizing what her point of view is, I guess.
Right.
I don't know if that's the right way to explain it, but anyway, she has these vulnerabilities that she can't give to Kevin what he's able to give to her. But I would say my favorite character is Kevin because he's flawed and he is aware of his flaws and he is accepting that they exist and it's his story. So.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that is one of the other messages too about flaws and making mistakes. To not let. And I don't know if we're getting it gets into like cliche things to say these days, but
Right.
Not letting your mistakes define you. You know, like be like, no, we make mistakes. We are not mistakes. We make mistakes.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And so many people think, I said that horrible thing when that person dumped me. I am scum of the earth or whatever. It's like, no, you let your anger get the better of you.
Yeah.
That's not, and that's what Lucy, well, she said, Lucy balances him, you know, because I used to think that, like, oh my God, this is what she said about the voice. That's funny that he said that, because Kevin, this is an understatement. Kevin talks a lot.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
And at first I thought, oh man, he's talking so much and she does so little. And I was like, well, but wait a minute. But then when she does say something, it really counts.
Right.
Exactly.
So it's like a balance. You know what I mean? Like she takes it all in and throws it back with this comment that condenses this to this. You know what I mean? And that's I was like, oh, okay. Then, you know, and then that doesn't make it so much the Kevin show. It makes it, she has
It's her
a,
show too, yeah. Okay. What do you expect for people to take away from this show when they come see it? What do you expect for people to take away from it?
Well, I'd like to think, like, I hope. It feels weird for me to say hope when the word hope is in the title, but it's like hope. But no, I do hope that people will be willing to look past his flaws and see like he is more of a sweet, caring, loving guy than a jerk. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because I've had people who have, when people were auditioning or going to help me make it, and they're like, there used to be a rant he went in there about like, why the hell do we have to text people these days before we can call them? When I was a kid, you just called. And
Yes, yeah.
It's so stupid. You
Right.
know? And then someone's like, I don't know if you want to keep that. You know, you want some people might leave, and then that's what they talk about when they leave. And I'm like, what? And I'm like, well, okay, well, if that's what I can't help that. You know, once it's out of my hands, once they're hearing what we say and they're interpreting, like, I can't control that anyway. You know what I mean? But, so I hope they look past that kind of stuff. I mean, that particular speech is gone. That's long gone. But his moments of like anger or saying things not so kind or being a wise guy or whatever. Although sometimes he's a wise guy toward people you'd like to be a
Yeah.
wise guy toward, you know. Like, what was it, when someone says to him, misery's the garbage, they're talking to him about eating.
Misery is good for the soul.
No, misery's
It's
the garbage
of the soul, yeah.
And he says, maybe, but at least it won't make my waist size go up.
Yeah, that's a funny line.
They're like, well, that's out of context for you folks, sorry. But
yeah.
But you know what I mean? Like, he's like a wise guy to people who you'd love to clap back at him, and you know, but, and especially with the big moment, what he says to Lucy, that's one where there's the danger of people flipping from against him.
Yeah,
you know?
that's
but,
true.
But then again, that happens really late in the play. So if we've got like an 80-page script, right? So let's say it happens on page 74.
Yeah.
But for 73 pages, you've liked him, hopefully.
Yeah.
So you're gonna say, oh, never mind, I hate this guy because of what one line on one.
Because of one line that he said. Yeah.
Well, but if that happens, I had to tell the truth. You know what I mean? And to soften the blow would feel fake to me. And,
right.
And I didn't want it to be fake. I didn't want any of it to feel fake.
Right.
It's really a redemption story.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, and it's like being on a roller coaster in several scenes where you're laughing 1 minute and then shocked another minute,
Yeah.
offended 1 minute, and then
Mhm.
the next moment you're crying because it's so beautiful, and it's such a really great experience.
What do you hope people will take away from this when they come see it?
I hope that people feel a little bit closer to people that they care about, and a little bit reflective about ways that they've affected people in ways they wish they hadn't.
Okay.
And from that, there's hope. So
Yes, because the originally one, I don't know if you wanted to get around to how much more did you have for us? I didn't know if you wanted to get around. I don't know if this would be a good time to do like what I would consider the wrap up thing, which is explaining that title.
Okay.
Because I didn't know what the hell to call it. I didn't know. So for the longest time I was like, it's the Kevin and Lucy play, you know.
Right.
And then I was writing it, and Lucy is a head nurse on a psychiatric ward, and during their first phone call, this is not really a spoiler, but it's getting to how I got the title.
Right.
Lucy said, he says, how was work? And Lucy says, pretty good. We had a going away party. One of our long-term patients finally got released. And Kevin says, isn't that dangerous? you're having a party for someone who gets to leave, and all the party guests are stuck there. Won't that make them like riot or something? You know?
Right.
And she says, well, maybe it could happen. We do our best to circumvent that by saying, hey, you know, we could be celebrating the release of any one of you next. We like to we stress that there's hope that tomorrow can be better than today. And that just was natural dialogue. I wasn't like trying to be like, I'm going to aim for a grandiose statement. It just
came to your head. Yeah.
And when I reread it, I'm like, that's the name. There's hope, and that's the big message. There's hope that tomorrow can be better than today.
Oh, I like that. That really is nice. I like that.
And someone asked me if that was a John Lennon lyric. I said I don't think so. So I typed in John Lennon, "There is hope" lyrics, and nothing. I'm like, holy cow, that was mine. That was mine. But it made someone think it was a John Lennon.
Right.
So that was a big compliment, I thought, for myself. But
wow.
Yeah.
That's nice. That's good. I like that. I didn't even know that's how it came.
Yeah. Yep. And I'm glad it did. Because it's just calling it Kevin and Lucy. I mean, what would that even mean?
Right. What does that mean? Especially when there's so many characters, like supporting characters in the show. You know what I mean? It's not just all about them. I feel like it's about these other characters as well.
And that
a little bit.
And that message has become not just necessarily for redemption, but it's become an overall theme of this whole production. Because I've had no shortage of no shortage of turnover. I don't know why. I
Right.
can't explain it. Maybe it was partially sometimes my fault for telling people things that no, I should have kept that. I could have complained to my wife instead of you guys about it. You know.
Right.
Mistakes. Hey, but mistakes happen. Like the play says, don't define yourself by your mistake.
Right.
But it's become a theme of the whole production because there's been, like I said, no shortage of turnover, no shortage of naysayers who were like, you've got too many characters, you can't direct what you wrote, you definitely can't act and direct in something you've written, and blah,
Which is
blah,
not
blah,
true.
blah, 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 blah,
Exactly.
blah. This is going to flop because of this, you needed this and that. And it's funny, the people who said, I had too many characters, then turned around and said, you need to get another director. I'm like, wait a minute, you just told me I have too many people involved in the thing. What?
Right.
Now
Yeah. What do
get-
you mean? Yeah.
Now get someone else. And yet, no matter how many times things seemed like, no, this isn't going to work, I just somehow the next day got back up and said, oh, I know what I can do instead. Oh, that I don't have that option anymore. I can do this. And I just kept finding ways to get it done because I don't like to believe in obstacles. If I have a goal, if I have a goal I want to pursue, then if I don't get to that goal, I'm not going to let someone else
Right.
stop me from it. I'm going to be. It's because I just said, I don't want to pursue that goal after all anyway. Like that's the only thing that's going to stop me from getting it. And not a lot of people are like that. Like one sign of trouble, it's too tough, and they quit.
Honestly, like one of the best parts of having you as a director is how resilient you are.
Yes.
Because you can
That's
take
true.
a disaster and turn it into this incredible opportunity for growth, and then
Yeah.
you're like better for it. So
Yeah. Well, that's like with the last turnover where I realized, oh God, if I wanna keep this going, I have to either audition again
Right.
or find something else. And there was the danger of maybe having to, lack of a better word, like violate my whole Inferno motif there and be like, oh, I'm not going to represent this handful of sinners because I don't want to audition anymore. Damn it, it's like
Right.
mhm.
And then I said, wait a minute. The character could still be in the play, even if there's no one to physically represent them. I'll just have another character talk about them, like what
Very
happened.
good idea.
Like,
Yeah.
for example, Teresa, the Violent Against Themselves. She used to be in the play. She used to be on stage.
Yes.
It got to a point where I'm like, no, I'm going to have to pick certain characters that just get mentioned. And so this character named Gwyneth is like, oh, Teresa's mental health took a turn for the worse. So
Yeah.
I still get to mention the character that symbolizes the Violent Against Themselves, even though they're not physically on the stage.
Yeah.
And that was like, I mean, someday I'd like to revert to what it was. With
Yes.
the people that were physically there, like everybody misses Stewart.
Yes.
Like, I don't know if we could really mention that kind of word that he says. I'll censor it. Like, it's like Stewart is a drunk, and he's like,
Yeah.
And Kevin goes, come on, man, we gotta get you an Uber. And he goes, I prefer Lyft.
Yeah.
And
I remember.
that's not really a spoiler because he's not in the play anymore. But then he was one of the ones that had to go.
Yeah.
And it stunk. But what else could I do? But
I mean, I think that happens. In
Yeah.
plays, in
Exactly.
movies,
Yeah.
in shows, even.
Yeah.
It happens.
I'm sure that that Hank and Sandy and
Yes.
they would all have a fun argument about.
Oh, of course,
about
absolutely.
this
They
play,
definitely
yeah.
would. I can
Yeah.
see it. Like they definitely would. Like they would be critics for the show.
Exactly.
Yep.
What is next for the both of you? What's next for you, Silvana?
Sure.
Yeah, I
Well,
know-
I have like 2 more scenes to finish in the filming of the movie.
Okay.
And then-
What's it called?
Not another axe grinder movie.
Okay.
So it's definitely like your classic, like low budget, independent horror film, with all kinds of fun antics in it.
Okay.
So I jokingly call it blood and boobs. So, but it's so that's going to be coming out at some point.
Okay.
I am wanting to help Jill again.
Okay.
Maybe either behind the scenes doing some volunteering for some projects she's got going on, or maybe on camera, but that's to be determined. So
Okay.
yeah,
Wow. Well, we'll definitely look out for that film that you're in.
yeah, thank you.
What about you, Steve? What's in the works for you?
Well, I've been finally getting around to learning how to use GarageBand on my computer. So I've been recording. There's been a lot of songs I've written over the years that are meant for a full band, but I don't have the time anymore to have a continuous, ongoing rehearsal and then getting gigs and all of that.
Right.
But with technology these days, you can do it all yourself anyway.
That's true.
So I cobbled together the only instrument I can't play for the kind of songs I write is drums, but they have a built-in drum, like these drum patterns, where you can manipulate all the speed and how complex they are or how simple they are. And so I would like to get back to working on those. And Albany Civic Theater just opened up submissions for what they call their showcase.
Okay.
Which they said you can submit like an original work.
All right.
And if you're picked, you'll oh my God, excuse me. you'll be able to do up to 60 minutes of it.
Okay.
So I'm in the process of the play was I had to rewrite it to fit this production, which is a hybrid of traditional,
right,
where we've got props, we got costumes, we interact with each other, but then also a stage reading in that I don't care if people are on book, and we also had to have a narrator. So I would write some of the things I wanted someone to read for the narrator. I would write it like dialogue, like they were an actual character,
right,
instead of writing it in parentheses like stage direction.
Yeah.
So now I'm flipping it back so it's formatted for a traditional play to submit to the showcase. And also, since Inferno was actually, not a lot of people know this, Inferno was actually one play in a trilogy. And the other two poems I knew of them, I had read them each at least once, Purgatorio and Paradiso, where he goes up through Mount Purgatory, then goes to heaven, and eventually ascends and sees God. And I was like, you know what? That was a trilogy. I should make a trilogy out of these group of characters.
Right.
But I struggled because, the first one was based on something that really happened to me. And so I'm like, well, what would the plots for 2 and 3 be? It's something in my head wouldn't allow. I'm like, well, a fictional. I'm like, no. If the first one was based on something real, then I felt like the other two. And I can't explain why I got stuck on that idea. But I couldn't make up fictional plots for 2 and 3. It didn't seem like it would fit with something that was so heartfelt from real life. That's why it's so heartfelt, is because it's from. And then, like I said, one day my mom emailed me. She's like, "Have you seen this yet?" And there was a link to Eric Gibson's obituary. And, And I didn't know how to process. I hadn't actually talked to him for a while, and I don't know. I just one day a couple days after hearing it, I went out to my car to go to work, and it was like a faucet. All these ideas for plays 2 and 3 came flooding out of my head, and I got to work. Started really immediately, like before I was on the clock, in case any of my bosses are watching. I started jotting them down as fast as I could. Like it all came out in one big, huge raw rush, and then I've been whittling it down here and there. I mean, they're just the outlines right now. So, but I just came up with it. Like it just hit me a couple days after I heard about him passing, and because that's what I use. I mean, I got to work. I heard that I had to leave. I couldn't sit there and be and focus while I'm thinking. Like, holy cow! I mean, this guy I knew for 25 years, and was only 41, is just gone like that. And
wow.
I couldn't process it. I told my boss, I'm like, I gotta go. I can't handle it today.
Right.
And I just drove around. Decided to go on Facebook Live, and I'm like, yeah, I'm driving. I'm like, well, Eric and I really didn't have anything where we always went.
Right.
That I would consider like our old haunts, like nothing. Like, you know how like Cheers. We didn't have a place like like where people
Go and
like,
sit there
yeah,
and talk and have
and people know you, and it's your consistent hangout. We didn't have that, so I just kind of drove around. And I'm like, oh yeah, I remember over there. He and I did this thing, and I just rambled on and on forever on Facebook Live about it, and that's what I use writing for, to process things I went through, and
right.
sometimes it takes longer than others to, like the evening that inspired this play happened in 2017. I didn't write the play till 2022.
Wow.
Because
Okay.
it comes out when it's ready, and the other two are ready. It's just that I've had to focus so much time on this, so this doesn't fall on its face, that I'm like, I dare not veer off onto anything else.
Okay.
And but that's, hopefully those will be written and on your way soon onto you guys, because Belinda and Lucy are both still in 2 and 3.
Okay.
To a lesser extent, because obviously, what goes on with Kevin and Lucy, it's like,
Yes.
But yeah, and they're both going to be hopefully just as powerful as the first one. So that's on me. We'll see.
Okay. Well, I can't wait to see what's going to happen. So I'm excited. But definitely check out our show. There is Hope. March 30th, 344 2nd Ave in Troy, 1 o'clock.
2nd Street.
2nd Street.
Ave would have you in Lansingburg. So.
Oh, okay. No, you don't want to go there. So 344 2nd Street in Troy. Okay, definitely check it out. All right, show starts at 1 o'clock. Now, how much are tickets?
If you get them through Eventbrite, they're 15. In person, they're 20. Although I've had a lot of people who are like, I don't understand this Eventbrite. But is there another way to get them? And I said, yeah. I said, give me your name. I'll put you down as like reserved.
Gotcha.
And then at the door, because I'm not gonna argue with them. Like, oh come on, man, this is such a hassle to do this. Just get on the damn thing and buy it. No.
Yeah.
Then they'll get turned off and they won't buy it. No. So if you give me your last name, I'll write you down as like reserved, and then you can still get the online price as opposed to the at the door price. So.
Okay.
That seems like a good middle road. Like they're still gonna buy it, but they're not going to get frustrated by the Eventbrite process,
Okay, so
But Eventbrite is easy.
Yeah, well.
So definitely check out Eventbrite to purchase tickets for this show. Okay, now how can people reach out to you and contact you if they want to cast you in anything, or if they want to, use you behind the scenes? How can people reach out and contact
probably
you?
the best way to contact is maybe leave a comment in the video. And then I can reach out from there, or if you can let me know, or whatever.
Okay.
I do have Facebook, but it's really just like people that I know really well.
Right.
So, and I don't do like promotional posts or anything like that. I'm always posting about my kids and stuff, so I won't accept your friend request, but and your messages will go to spam. I won't see them, but yeah, that'd be the best way.
Okay.
So, or they can contact Steve. I'm sure he would.
Yeah, I would forward them on.
All right, sounds good. And Steve, how can people reach out to you and contact you if they are interested in working with you, auditioning for what you have coming up? How can people reach out to you?
There's Facebook. I can't remember the extension. Past the facebook.com / I can't. Just type Steve Grogan. Hopefully you'll see.
Yes.
Or there's Steve Grogan author at gmail.com.
Real quick, can I just...
Of course, absolutely.
I would be making a huge mistake not to credit Sean Ubele, who's the director and writer of the Not Another Axe Grinder movie.
Okay.
He's a great guy doing a great work, and I credited Jill, but I forgot to credit him. So
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, definitely check out, like I said, check out her new project coming up. That's going to be dropping soon. Check out Steve Grogan. He's going to hopefully have a submission over at Albany Civic Theater. Well, that's also one of the most very popular theaters here in the Capital District. So definitely check these guys out. But first and foremost, in the meantime, check out the show. Like I said, there is Hope, March 30th at 1 p.m., 344 2nd Street in Troy. Okay, we're all going to be there 1 o'clock. All right, you are going to love this show. don't miss out, okay? It is filled with laughter. It's filled with some tears. So you're definitely, it's going to take you on a little bit of a roller coaster ride. But in the end, I think you'll enjoy it. Lil O Experience. I'm here. Bye.